Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ironworker Gaming channel for another Destiny 2 PvP viewer requested weapon review. The weapon we're taking a look at today is MARTYR'S RETRIBUTION, by request of Triple Moon Panda. MARTYR'S RETRIBUTION made its way onto the scene back in Season of Dawn as one of the Sundial specific weapons. But if you weren't playing Destiny 2 at that point in time, or you just weren't able to snag one, you can still acquire this grenade launcher. To have your best shot at it, take an Umbral Ingram to the Prismatic Recaster next to the Drifter, and select the Dawn-focused Umbral Ingram. You'll either receive a MARTYR'S RETRIBUTION or a Breachlight Sidearm. And I gotta say, I was pretty hyped about this weapon when it first released because it really is the first of its kind. It's a grenade launcher that performs very differently than the other grenade launchers we've been using up to this point. And this feeling is usually only reserved for exotic weapons, so I was nearly awestruck the first time I touched off a shot with MARTYR'S and saw a giant wave of fire roll across the ground. The only weapon that's even in the same vein as MARTYR'S RETRIBUTION is Witherhoard, and that's simply because the detonation of the projectile creates a unique effect. And it wouldn't surprise me one bit to see more wave-frame grenade launchers in the future, but for the time being, this weapon is one of a kind. But while the concept is really cool, the question begs to be asked, is this grenade launcher any good in the Crucible? We'll try to find that answer in this review, but if at any point you find this video useful, helpful, or enjoyable, both liking and subscribing really go a long way in determining the video's overall success on YouTube, and your support would be greatly appreciated. But with that, let's get into the review and start things off with the stats and damage numbers. MARTYR'S RETRIBUTION is a legendary solar breach load grenade launcher, and when taking a look at the stats, they're all very consistent with the other grenade launchers in the class. Checking the hidden stats on light.gg, the only thing that really concerns us here is the aim assist value of 72, which is on the lower end within the archetype, but only by a few points, so it's pretty much in line also. For the usage rate on Destiny Tracker, for some reason the quick play numbers were not available, but MARTYR'S RETRIBUTIon is sitting at the 263rd most used gun in competitive Crucible game modes over the past month. Intrinsically, wave frame grenade launchers shoot a single projectile that releases a wave of energy when they contact the ground. I actually only carry one roll on this weapon, and it's mainly a PvE roll. You'll probably get an understanding as to why I haven't farmed out more of these as we move forward in the review. The main thing I always look for on breach load grenade launchers is increased velocity, but a boost to the handling or reload stats might fit a player well depending on their playstyle. So for the barrel, Hard Launch does just that, greatly increasing the projectile velocity while decreasing the stability and blast radius. For the magazine option, I have high velocity rounds, increasing the projectile speed once again, with also helping out the reload a touch. In per call 1, I do a field prep for increased ammo reserves and better reload and swap speed when crouched. In column 2, I do have Demolitionist, so kills with this weapon will grant grenade energy, and this weapon will automatically reload when I use my grenade. Before we hop into the damage numbers, I think it's worth taking a quick look at this weapon's basic function. As you can see, on contact with the ground, the grenade detonates and releases a single wave of fire in a straight line. The direction of this wave is determined by the direction the projectile is moving when it contacts the floor. These projectiles can bounce off vertical surfaces without detonating. And the general hitbox of the flame wave appears to be about 3 to 3.5 meters wide. You are able to damage yourself with the initial explosion from MARTYR'S RETRIBUTIon, but you will not take damage from the flame wave itself. And for the actual damage numbers here, if you plink someone directly with a grenade, you will deal 43 points of impact damage. But as I just stated, this weapon also does carry some blast damage. The highest damage number that I was actually able to achieve from the blast was 62 points of damage. And it would appear that the blast has a radius of approximately 2 meters. The flame wave itself carries with it 130 points of damage, which is guaranteed as long as the wave touches an enemy player. It could just gently graze the enemy's calf. 130 points of damage. And this flame wave does have a hefty travel distance on it. It was tough for me to be extremely precise with this one, but I was trying to aim approximately 2 meters in front of my feet, and then subtract that from the distance to the flag. In my testing, I found that this wave will travel somewhere in the neighborhood of 23 meters, which is quite substantial in my opinion. But during my testing, at no point in time was I ever able to secure a one-shot kill. 62 points of damage from the blast and 130 from the wave should do it. But there is a small gap between the point of impact and the starting point of the flame wave. I'm figuring this gap to be somewhere between 1 and 1.5 meters. Meaning there does not seem to be any way you can deal enough blast damage while still catching the enemy player with the flame wave to do lethal damage. And I think that just about covers everything here, so let's head into the Crucible and talk about this weapon's performance. Alright, I know this is a PvP review, but I just gotta give a quick nod to this weapon in PvE. This is an extremely fun and unique weapon to use. Great for low level ad clearing when you catch a pack of enemy combatants tightly grouped up or lined up in a corridor. Wielding a weapon that shoots a solar flame wave really creates an interesting change up to the standard gameplay in Destiny 2. But in PvP, I'm gonna pass on this weapon in general, even though potentially it can be very strong. Martyr's Retribution can serve as an excellent option if you enjoy the playstyle of running a primer and a cleanup weapon. Having that 130 points of damage guaranteed on a flame wave hit, along with the fact it can strike multiple targets, is quite powerful. This can give Martyr's Retribution a leg up on other grenade launchers, whose damage is solely tied to the blast, and see diminishing returns based on the target's proximity to that blast. As long as you can keep that flame wave on target, the potential is there for easy cleanup kills. But there are some things going on here with Martyrs that make it fundamentally more difficult to use in my opinion. When equipping a breach load grenade launcher, I at least want to have the ability to secure a kill on a direct hit. I mean, that's just the way my brain is trained. Hit what you want to kill, right? Martyrs does require a shift in mindset to a certain extent. You have to be sure to land that grenade a few meters in front of the enemy player to achieve the desired results. And me, being a stubborn bullheaded ironworker, my brain doesn't catch on to new tricks all that easily. My next issue came with keeping that flame wave on its desired path. A lot of times my grenade would seemingly impact the ground at just the wrong angle, and I would end up missing my target by just a few degrees. I found this to be especially difficult when moving laterally, whether in the air or on the ground. This made finding the correct impact angle just that much harder. What can be even more frustrating is watching that grenade bounce off a tiny piece of geometry that the game doesn't consider the floor, and watching it fly way off target. But circling back real quick to the inability of this weapon to secure a one-hit kill, this grenade launcher is nearly worthless against in-air targets. And it's not that airborne targets are all that easy to hit with a standard grenade launcher, but sometimes you can get lucky and knock that bogey down. With Martyr's Retribution, almost all of the reliable damage is solely confined to the floor. And lastly, this is personal preference, but I'm not a pop and swap player in PvP. And I have touched on this in past weapon reviews. It's not my thing, it's not what I do, it's not how I play. There's nothing wrong with this playstyle, and some people are extremely effective with this game plan. In general though, I rely on having two weapons that can stand on their own. I have a gun for situation A and a gun for situation B, and I try to limit my engagements to those situations. Martyr's Retribution pretty much demands that you run a weapon that synergizes well with it. And while it can score easy cleanup kills on already wounded Guardians, I don't think it's realistic to expect winning a duel with this weapon alone. So for the verdict, and would I say Martyr's Retribution is a good option for the Crucible? Honestly, I do see the potential in this weapon, and in the right hands, this grenade launcher could be very strong. If you really like the idea of running a pop and swap game plan, this weapon can be an effective tool. There is a bit of a learning curve involved though, and I would consider this weapon to be one with a wider skill gap. It may be counterintuitive to some players, and may require some extended playtime with this weapon before you really get a feel with it. And while the unique function of Martyr's Retribution may hurt its utility in certain aspects, I would figure this would be more than a serviceable weapon for those willing to commit to the playstyle it requires. So my best advice here would be, try it, you might like it. But if you did enjoy this weapon review, please remember to leave it a like and subscribe to the Ironworker Gaming channel to catch more Destiny 2 videos similar to this one. If you'd like to catch me live, I do stream on Twitch. You can look for Ironworker814 over there, drop me a follow, and you will get notified whenever I hop on. And to contact me, the easiest way is simply to comment down below. I'll be sure to get back to you. And with all that being said, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your day to check out this video. You guys are awesome, and I will catch you on the next one.